Hey there again, folks. Welcome back to my Let's Play of Remember11, The Age of Infinity. And, last time we went back to Sophia, back to the shelter cabin, and had a very strange sight. Very strange occurrence happened with Yomogi. So it may be a little awkward, here coming up, so we're gonna have to wait and see. Wrapping myself in the blankets, I asked that as I watched the fire in the stove. Too busy sucking her finger to remember to give her the cardboard, I guess.
おいおい、マジかよ。
悪かったな。次に冬川さんになった時には必ず渡すよ。
たく、頼んだぞ。
I reminded him one more time. Then took the VR out of my pocket. Kokoro might have listened to the message. If she had, it's almost certain that she'd record an answer. When I looked at the playlist, only Data 1 and Data... Can't talk today. And Data 2 were listed. I played Data 1.
私はカモメ。これは世界初の女性宇宙飛行士ワレンチナ・テレシコワの言葉だ。
Guess I'd forgotten that she was recording that, or what? Or did she record it? I mean, or did it say that she recorded it? Kokoro said that these are beautiful words. However, in reality, this phrase is not exactly something one should be very awestruck by. Seagull in Russian could be Shakya. Pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. And incidentally, Shakya was also the call sign, something akin to a nickname of Vostok 6. In other words, just as an astronaut on one of the Apollo spacecraft missions would contact the humans, the command center. This is Apollo Houston, do you copy? Tereshkova had contacted the respective command center for the Vostok 6 with, this is Seagull. When this phrase was translated into Japanese, it was mistakenly transferred as blah blah blah. Pretty sure that was an approximation of what is written there in Japanese, i.e., I'm a seagull. As a result, it became widely known in Japan as Tereshkova's, I think I said it right the first time, poetic description of herself floating in the void of space. Interesting fact to note, the Vostok 1 that Gagarin piloted was called Keter, or Cedar. If that name was used as the call sign of Vostok 6, perhaps such a mistranslation would never have occurred.
旧ソ連の宇宙船ボストーク6号に乗り込んだ彼女は一人完全な静寂と虚無に支配された宇宙空間を漂いながら
This seems to be the recording from January 11th. It's not a reply from me, so I went ahead and played Data 2.
さっきのメッセージの続きだ。またいつ転移が起こるかわからないから。
Oh,
要件ま
okay.
で話すぞ。いいか。実はどうやら俺は何者かに命を狙われているらしい。
The message that I recorded during my last transfer. There's no reply from her yet, which would mean that she still hasn't listened to my message, huh? I recalled what had happened just before the transfer. Back then, I wondered what brought Sumi to my room. She was kind of fidgety, and her eyes were full of unease, almost as though she were afraid of something. Had a really bad feeling I was beset by a vague uneasiness with no clear cause. I really can't talk today. Kokoro probably still hasn't heard my warning. If some unforeseen trouble was going on at Sophia right now, the flame in the stove before me flickered. The firewood within popped. A quick, vivid sound. Well, that was quick. Without warning, I was plunged into complete darkness. Oh crap. And a moment later, a sharp pain traveled up my left arm. The pain was agonizing, as if I were being burned. Oh, am I dead? Then was standing and cried out. What is it? What the hell happened? I gave in and began to panic. Okay, this panic's okay. Panic over. Wait, calm down, calm down. Calm down and think. Look at the situation with a cool head. Enduring the throbbing pain in my arm, I reeled my brain around and forced it to think. The smell. The room smelled odd. Odd was also the word to describe the way the room's temperature felt against my skin. And that wasn't all. My physical senses, even the feeling of clothes against my skin, had undergone a complete change. In the first place, why is it that I'm standing up right now when I was sitting down just a moment ago? In other words, I had transferred to Svea. Why is it so dark? What's this pain in my arm? The pain was unbearable. I could tell it was no minor wound. Judging from it, I had probably been cut. And pretty roughly at that. A large amount of blood seemed to be flowing steadily from the wound. What the hell happened? Squinting, I took in my surroundings. As though through a haze, I could gradually see the area around me. In the living area, huh? I remember that part where there was that where there was kind of the outage. Yeah, it was early on because yeah, that was on early. Cause that was when Uni wanted to be clever, and he he said he fixed it. That's right, I remember that. I was thinking it was later on, but yeah, it was only on the second day, wasn't it? Sensing another's presence, I turned around. There was someone there. I could see a human silhouette in the darkness. It was standing not too far from me. However, I couldn't make out who it was. Who's there? The unknown person's right hand was holding something. Something was reflecting a cold light. It was a knife. The hand of the silhouette held a knife. So this bastard is the one who cut my left hand. A memory from yesterday arose like a flashback. It's the exact same picture they used later on or earlier on. However way you want to put it. Earlier on in Let's Play, later in the story, my fall from the clock tower, my attempted drowning in the bathtub. It's still hard to believe, but it appeared that someone really was after my life. And now my attacker had finally appeared before me. Knife in hand, the shadow slowly began to approach me. Slowly, slowly. As if the shadow was sliding across the floor, the distance between us quickly lessened. A chill ran up my spine. Why was it so dark? Where was the electricity? Where were the lights? Who stole the lights? The knife drew ever closer. The exposed blade glittered in the dark. I'll be killed. Instinctively, oh crap. Great, I get to make a choice. Runaway kinda makes sense, except, you know, where are you gonna run to? This is on after that part where or was it? Oh crap! I can't remember the sequence of events. There's that part where I died several times on Kokoro's route. No, you wind up going back in through a window, or Satoru's window, his window, I should say. I don't know whose window it is. Somebody's window. And depending on whether or not you wandered away from the complex, you lived or you died. I feel like that's later. I can't remember the sequence though. We're gonna... Well, I mean, I have it saved at the beginning of this part, so... We're gonna run away. We're gonna run like a baby. Perhaps we need to run, you know, faster than the baby. We need to run like 20 babies. I broke into a run. Where should I go? Where would be safe? I need to find a place to hide. At that moment that I had a thought. My foot bumped into something. Pain ran along my shin as I took a spectacular tumble. I tripped over the table. Damn, I had to get up. Pushed myself up from the floor with both hands. A sharp pain pierced my left arm. Fell down again, writhing in pain. It's no good. No good. At this rate, an alarm went off inside my head. My entire body was covered in a cold sweat. At this rate, I'll be killed. The concealing darkness for my eyes disappeared in an instant. A faint red light softly illuminated the surrounding area. I was in a shelter cabin. Another transfer had occurred.
助かった。
Possibly. However, that long didn't last long. Felt a strange sensation near my feet as though being touched by something syrupy. It engulfed me up to my ankles, climbed to my knees, and crept up to my thighs, now reaching my waist. It wormed into my spinal cord, ate into my intestines, pierced my lungs, and began to overflow from my trachea. Okay. The stench of rot made me nauseous. The smell of death, the breath of the Grim Reaper. The sharp edge of a sickle dug into my throat. Shook my head wildly to drive away the delusion. However, the anxiety wouldn't disappear. It began to engulf my entire body. Right now, I'm alive. However, the next time a transfer occurs, I could wind up dead. I'll wake up dead. Oh my gosh. I didn't know what happened to the body I left behind in Sphere. Might have been chopped to pieces by the hands of that unknown maniac. The term half-dead was taking on a whole new meaning for me. Almost like the cat locked in a box. Oh my gosh. That. The Infinity series really loves that. Refers to Schrodinger's cat, a thought experiment intended as a critique of quantum probability theories proposed by Bohr and Heisenberg, the so-called Copenhagen interpretation. Supposedly the cat was put into a box equipped with a mechanism that would emit poisonous gas if a certain radioactive material decays. According to the Copenhagen interpretation, the macro world phenomena, such as radioactive emission, are probabilistic by nature. Therefore, in this experiment, as it is caused by one such phenomenon, the life-death status of the cat itself ends up being probabilistic as well. This means the cat is both dead and alive at the same time. No certain conclusion to its state can be made until the box is opened. The paradox embodied by that cute cat became one of the prime buzzwords of the era that marked the birth of quantum mechanics. And it was really enjoyed by visual novelists. My eyes dropped to Kokoro's wristwatch. Present time was 7:34.
心、頼む。どうにか逃げてくれ。無事に生き延びてくれ。
While I was at the shelter cabin, the only thing I could do was pray. You can hope that she tries to get away and does so in such a comedic manner that the murderer breaks out laughing. That would be the strangest turnaround ever. It might be something I would have hope for. Be like, oh my gosh, a murderer! Start running, hit a coffee table, do like a backflip, tripping over it, like land on something, like make a, as an impact, a fart, and hopefully the murderer will be like, and then I tackle the murderer as they're laughing their butt off. That would be quite the turnaround. That would be something I would have a chance at. Cause I can be clumsy, with the best of them. Me and Jar Jar Binks could have a clumsing off. I think it could be strange. I'm not sure. Let's keep, doing the game here. Lifting my head, I saw Yomogi and Lin in the room. Yomogi had plunked himself down on a log chair and was reading the taped-together newspaper. It was a newspaper we reconstructed yesterday. Lynn sat beside the bed with her legs crossed, staring intently at Yomogi. One of her cheeks was clenched and twitched from time to time. Had they had some kind of disagreement? I mean, if it's Mayuzumi and Yomogi, of course they've had a disagreement. That's all they can have. Lynn had the face of someone trying to hold back the rising tide of resentment. And where was Uni anyway? I couldn't see him anywhere. In the moment I thought that, I heard a clattering sound coming from below the floorboards. From the square hole in the corner of the room, looked into it and saw him there. Uni was fishing around in a wooden box, searching for something. Thought about calling out to him, but then decided that now wouldn't be a good time and stopped myself. I really don't need to eat before recording. I'm going to constantly say that because I do it anyway. It's enough for the time being that I knew where he was. As for the other two, neither of them had said a word. Biting my lip, I walked around the room aimlessly, as if trying to throw off the shadow of death. The shadow wrapped itself around my ankles and slithered along with me. My heart raced in my chest. My warm blood became a muddied stream and coursed through my body. Placed my right hand against my chest and somehow tried to calm myself. By reflex, I quickly looked back down at my open palm. My left hand. Had noticed until now, but Kokoro's left hand had been gripping the voice recorder. Did she leave a reply? Clinging to that hope, I hit the voice recorder's power button. Data 3. There was a new voice file. I greedily pressed my ear to the speaker and listened to it. Did she drop in the snow? Perhaps she spoke in R2D2. It was disappointing, but there was nothing in the recording but meaningless noise. There wasn't any data besides that. I unintentionally clucked my tongue. The voice recorder I had gotten soaked with my sweat. Wiped it down with my sleeve and placed it back in my pocket. When will the next transfer occur? What happened to my body? After this, I had to jump back into that blind darkness from before. Crazy thing about that is, we kind of don't know if I lost. If I make the right decision to run. On top of that, my own consciousness will have jumped back without knowing what's going on. Knowing that the big shove might come at any moment, I couldn't relax for a second. Besides that, while I fear for myself, at the same time I'm worried about Kokoro as well. But if Kokoro were to wind up dead because of me, if it came down to that, what would I do? She didn't have any connection whatsoever to the events at Sophia. But in spite of that, even now, there may be a sharp blade poised right above her throat. The image of Kokoro writhing in agony appeared in my mind. I wanted to save her. I wanted to change places with her this very instant. However, at the same time, I felt a crushing sensation of fear. A maddening feeling of frustration gouged at my chest. Time slowly passed as my inner dispute continued. Inside the cabin, shut in by a snowstorm, even though my body was freezing, uncomfortable sweat ran down me without end. Then, just at that moment, Lynn's shrill voice reached my eardrums. I jumped in surprise and began preparing myself for the next attack. I timidly turned around. Lynn had stood up. Her gaze was directed not at me, but at Yomogi. Yomogi, who was taken aback, was returning her gaze. She turned his way and began to approach, her high heels clicking against the floor. What nose itches? Without a word, Lynn snatched the newspaper away from her.
唯一の娯楽まで取り上げるつもりかい？
娯楽？
少なくとも暇つぶしにはなる。活字を追いかけてるとね。それとも僕の話し相手になってくれるのかな？あんた、なんとも思わないわけ？どうしてこんなもの読んで平然としていられるのよ？平然となんてしてないよ。僕だって怖い。だが恐怖に打ち勝つためにはまずそいつの正体を知らないとね。山に登るには山の本性を知っておく必要がある。それと同じことさ。こんな新聞に正体も何もあるわけないでしょ。偽物に決まってるんだから。
I haven't seen the mountains full form yet.
偽物？昨べは確か違うことを言ってたね。いたずらなわけがないって。
うるさいわね。とにかく目障りなのよ。こんなもの私の前にちらつかせないで。
With that declaration, Lynn hurled the newspaper toward the wall. It flew in my direction. I quickly dodged it. The newspaper bounced off the wall and fell to the floor.
まったく乱暴ですな、姫君は。
Boogie shook his head, fed up, and removed the cigarette from his pocket. He placed one in his mouth and lit it. He inhaled the smoke and then blew it back out again.
無神経な男ね。
神経が浮き上がってるよりはマシだろう。それよりも話し相手になってくれるんだろうな。
冗談でしょ。雪だるまにでも相手してもらえば。
Tossing those scornful words his way, Lynn returned to her bedside. Moogie puckered his lips and blew a smoke ring, and then...
セイジ！ちょっと手伝ってくれない？
Uni's voice called out from below.
早速暇つぶしの相手が見つかったみたいだな。
Uh-oh. Yomogi stood up with a spring in his step, then descended into the underground storeroom with the cigarette between his lips. I suddenly remembered as I watched their exchange, right before I transferred from the shelter cabin last night. When we were putting the newspaper back together, Yomogi, Lynn, and Uni were all freezing. So then what happened here overnight? If anything, the three of them seemed even more relaxed than after my transfer this afternoon. They were calm and quiet, as if nothing was wrong. Did this mean the three of them had settled the matter of the newspaper while I was away? However, if the cinders of the problem are blown on again and again, like they were just now, they'll eventually catch fire again. Come think of it, I've had two questions since I arrived here. The first is, how can a newspaper from July 2011 exist here? It should still be January 12th, 2011 in this shelter cabin. So why is there a newspaper here from half a year later? Could it be that, like my consciousness, the newspaper had jumped through time and space and shown itself half a year early? However, in my case, it's only my consciousness that jumped. At the word, something without a physical form. In contrast, a newspaper had... How can I explain it? It had mass. The newspaper was an entity composed of solid material. Even if it weren't a newspaper, but a CD-ROM or something. CD-ROMs. Who has CD-ROMs in 2011? Nobody. There's probably some people. If you're one of those people who have CD-ROMs, then good for you. You know, sticking with CD-ROMs with only like 700 megabytes rather than the DVDs with like 4 gigs. If only the information in the article had transferred, then you could say that it was the same as my situation in a way. That's not how things were. The page was made out of actual paper, and on top of that, it was printed with a substance called ink. That makes sense. Paper, ink, makes sense. Therefore, I couldn't imagine how the paper could have been transported here via the same transference phenomenon. Excuse me. Then why is there a newspaper from the future here? I felt like I wouldn't reach a conclusion no matter how long I thought over it. Makes sense. Continuing on to my second question, about Kokoro. Did Kokoro really read this newspaper article? If so, then how did she feel about it? Of course it wasn't just Kokoro, Yomogi and Lynn read it as well. If someone were to find a newspaper from the future in which their own death was described, what would they think? How would they feel? Try thinking, what if it were me? Newspaper from the future of unknown nature, and that paper was an article describing my death. If it were me and I read that, what would I think? To be honest, I've watched movies. If I were to read a newspaper article stating precisely how I died, I would try to die exactly that way. I would go out of my way to die exactly that way. Because, you know, in the movies, whenever people try to avoid it, somehow it always winds up they die that way anyway. So, I would totally do the, oh my gosh, reverse psychology. I'd totally reverse psychology. Totally out of that. Be like, oh, it's gonna make you paranoid. You're gonna try to avoid it. You're gonna try to stay out of death. Whoa, whoa, you're diving right in? Okay, well, you're too crazy for me. Get to live. Nah, my luck would be it'd work out exactly that way. But it's never happened. They've never had a movie where that would be actually a pretty funny movie. Where somebody did that, and they kept going out of their way because of the exact same theory, and they kept not dying. Oh wow! Hey, I got a new newspaper. Oh, I'm gonna die like that in 2 weeks. Cool, gonna be right on it, and then they live. Somebody needs to get on that movie. Get on that movie, somebody. But anyway, this is where I'm going to go ahead and call it. We'll figure out whether or not Satru would believe or disbelieve the article in the next one. So I do hope you folks enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Farewell.